Thank you, Shon. Thank you for everyone at Icon Coaching.
Simon, congratulations, man. You know what that is?
That's winning.
It's winning, baby. I love it when you're winning. That's fantastic.
I got 2 under contract, so that's like 2.8 million in 2 weeks.
You've got to take control of your production to make sure that you're making more money, your bank account balance is rising, that your net worth is increasing, and that's what we want to see happen.
So that they can save the listing.
Which I'm really, really thankful for, Shon. Thank you.
See everyone coming on board.
Welcome to Icon Coaching's webinar.
Welcome, everybody, to the Icon Coaching webinar. Today, we're going to be just having a fun discussion. Dan Stewart and I, Dan, by the way, has been servicing 12,000 members of Happy Grasshopper, managing 42 million relationships for the last 15 years. Guys, he's got a feedback loop. He knows what gets engagement and what doesn't. And we're just going to have a free flow, fun conversation today. We're going to do this on Facebook Live as well. So I just want you to lean in today. I want you to take great notes because we're going to share several nuggets with you today that will get engagement and re-energize your sphere of influence in your past client list to obtain the 12-to-2 ratio. You know, guys, I am hell-bent on getting you the 12-to-2 ratio, meaning for every 12 people that are in your sphere of influence in your past client list, you should be closing 2 transactions per year. Build that list to 200 people, communicate with them systematically. That's 34 transactions per year. If your average GCI is 10 grand per transaction, guys, that's $340,000 a year. How much money are you spending on ads, by the way? Oh, nothing. Wow. Imagine doing your business to where you're netting more. See, there's a lot of agents out there, certainly nobody on this webinar, yet there are a lot of agents out there that are closing a lot of transactions, yet they're not netting much money at all because they're giving up 45% of their hard-earned commissions to companies like Agent Pronto and Zillow Flex and OpCity. Guys, stop doing that. I think this always has been, it is today, and it always will be a relationship-driven business. And what Dan and I are going to talk to you about today is how to re-energize your sphere of influence past client list. So without any further delay, let me introduce to you a good friend of mine, Dan Stewart, the co-founder of Built. So Dan, introduce yourself to the group.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan. And hello, Joe Kuhn. It's good to see you, man. Hope you're well. I love that you're on camera over here. This is a gentleman I've had the privilege of speaking with and spending a good hour together. So it's awesome to see everybody here. I would encourage everyone, like we got the chat there. Shon and I are going to keep our eyes on it. So go ahead and say hi. Tell us where you're from and let us know. If there's a topic, a question, if there's something that's on your mind, Shon and I are here. This is your time. We are going to use it to answer whatever those questions are. And Shon, just kind of digging in here, this 12-to-2 ratio you talk about. If you do the math, right? If you take 2 and divide it by 12, that's just 16.7-ish%, right? So let's just be conservative and say 16%. Well, I'm at an event right now for a brokerage client, a franchise client, and one of their franchisees was there, and she walked up to me. Her name's Sandy. And she said, "Hi, Dan, I've had Happy Grasshopper since it feels like forever. I love it. It works so great." But she's going on and on and on about that. And I'm always super grateful to hear that, people are having that good experience. And I'm sharing this with you because this is what came out of her mouth. She goes, "Like clockwork, I can depend on 16% of my business coming from my sphere. And I know that's coming from you guys." So 16%, she's been our member since 2012, right? It's a reliable, consistent thing when you work the system the right way. So I definitely want to just validate that number, Shon, because it's one thing to, have a ratio out there. Some people can think ratios, other people might think percentages. So, 16%, 12-to-2, it's just about the same number.
Yeah, no doubt. Yet, I think that's where it all starts, is with list building. And yet many agents that I know of, guys, they're not taking the time to actually build that list of the relationships that they should be nurturing systematically, to communicate with them on purpose, right? Not when you think about it, not when you just feel like it, but to have a system, an actual marketing plan and sequence in place that's designed specifically to get them to think you whenever they think real estate. So what are you doing on purpose? And Dan, I know you have some suggestions for them. Like, how often should they be emailing their sphere of influence of past clients?
Well, you're not going to like this answer. Okay, I'll just preface it by saying you're not going to like the answer because it's two words. It depends, right? What if you don't want to be successful? Well, you probably should never communicate with anybody, right? You should just keep it all yourself. What if you're afraid you're sending too much email? Well, then, maybe you don't really want to be successful. Um, the place you have to start, if you're going to get the right results, you just have to understand the terrain that you're working in. Every one of us gets more email today than we've ever gotten at any point in our life prior to today. That number's just going to keep going up. So
Painfully true.
when in doubt, you should send. It's really hard to oversend today because you're making a mistake if you assume that the people in your database are seeing every message that you send, right? And the metric I've been monitoring for 15 years, it's been pretty stable for those contacts who are closest to you. Like Joe and I know each other, right? If Joe sends me a message, I know it's Joe. I engage. I send Joe a message. He knows it's me. He engages because of a relationship. Okay. So for that group of people, about once every 3 weeks, once every 21, 22 days is the right amount of frequency. Well, what if Joe and I don't know each other, right? What if I'm a brand new lead that just showed up on Joe's website? I don't know who Joe is, and Joe doesn't know who I am, right? So we need a content plan that's designed to create a conversation quickly so that we can get to know each other and discover whether we should be working together. Um, so that it depends answer, it's a complex subject. There is no magic number of this many touches, and that's all you have to do.
No doubt about that. So, Gary Keller and Jay Papasan in the Red Book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, outlined a minimum of 33 touches, Dan. Would you agree with that, that it
Mhm.
takes a minimum of 33 touches just to maintain that position in the mindset of your prospect?
We can talk openly, right? We're all friends here.
100%. Yes. It's a
Right.
debate.
I mean, we can do that. We can do that. So if I were Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, and I had this massive organization of people, and my desire is to help them generate more business, I need to have a plan that I can teach and everyone can understand, right? 33 touches is really easy to understand. Mets, not Mets, really easy to understand. Where it falls apart is in the differences between Dan and Joe and Shon and everybody else, right? So it's like you ask an expert, you're going to get an expert level answer. But if you're teaching a huge organization, you have to have an answer that works. Like is one size fits all, bespoke, custom made, what you want to wear at your wedding? No, but is good enough for every day, right? So it's like if you're doing nothing, sure, follow those guidelines and because it's better than nothing. But if you really want to level up your game and perform at the highest level possible, you can't have a one size fits all solution. Gotta
No,
go a
and
different way.
yet that's the solution that's been brought to real estate agents. Am I right, Dan? Oh, yeah, send this email
Yeah.
out to everybody in your CRM. Well, here's the challenge. You just closed a deal 2 weeks ago and you just sent that buyer an email telling them what a wonderful time it is to list their house that they just bought 2 weeks ago. They're upside down. What are they going to do? They're going to block you. Then they're going to create a rule in their email inbox to where they don't have to see your emails in their inbox anymore. You guys get this, right?
Well, I mean,
So
they might pick up the phone and call you and say, "Why are you emailing me so much?" Right? And then that's a bad thing because you go, "Oh my gosh, I'm emailing too much," and then you stop emailing everybody else that you should be, right?
right.
So that
Overcorrect.
this is the thing that you have to balance. And there's a point where you have to just say, uh, I'm going to make decisions that I'm comfortable with, no matter how it works out. Right.
Well,
So can I give you an
you can't really
example?
do that with any real assurance, though, unless you've segmented your database. And that's where agents really fall down sometimes, right? Is segmenting the list. Because certainly you don't want to send an email to one of your allied resource partners that you would send to a buyer prospect or an investor prospect. It wouldn't land right. It doesn't make
Yeah,
any
wrong
sense.
message. You could send the best vendor message on planet Earth to your past clients, and it's going to just confuse them, and it wouldn't work. Right. And Shon, I got to give an example here real quick, right? You and I authentically know each other. We're friends. If we go 12 hours without texting each other, that's weird, right? It would be like, I wonder if Sean's okay because I haven't heard from him today, right?
Right.
So I don't need to be on your drip. It would be weird if I got a marketing message from you, right?
Sure.
Because we have that access. It's so close. So as you're thinking about your overall database and where you could fit in and how you might connect with all those people, relevancy of that relationship is so important. It's critical, right? It's critical to understand that. So let me
So
break
what
that
we
down.
teach is to segment into 6 categories. Dan, outline them for them.
Yeah, I'm going to break it down in really simple terms first, and then with a little bit more detail. So on planet Earth, the whole planet, we have precisely two kinds of people. They know who you are or they don't, right? That's pretty simple. So those are the first two general categories. And then within those categories, we've got subcategories. And in the real estate world, there's six of them that matter. So your past clients, they're the most important because they're experts on the quality of job that you do, right? They are the most well positioned to refer people to you because they've experienced the value you provide firsthand, right? So past clients, 100% of them absolutely know who you are, right? The next group is sphere of influence. Now, we hear that term so much that we forget what it actually means. Sphere of influence, right? Influence. If I don't have any idea who you are, you have no influence over me, right? And it doesn't matter that our kids go to school together and you just didn't know what column to put me in the database. You don't actually have influence over me, right? If we're if I'm on a list in the neighborhood HOA with my contact information, you might add it to your sphere, but without the relationship, there really is no influence. So I'm calling this one out because 15 years have taught me that most agents dump everybody they're not sure about into their sphere of influence when they should be dumping everyone they're not sure about into their leads category. That's the next audience. Because a lead, I mean, if you don't know who they are and they don't know who you are, at least now they know you're in real estate, right? At least now they're getting something relevant to how you might be able to help them. Okay. So there's three audiences left. We've covered past clients, most valuable, sphere, second most valuable, and then we've got your leads. Leads, this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. It's getting close to being your least valuable audience.
But there's security in leads. Dan, I got 1,000 leads in my CRM. It makes me feel secure, right? There's no security in leads, guys.
I see my buddy Brent Daly here. And
Hey,
Brent, I
Brent.
mean, if you don't mind me sharing, he's got about 750,000 contacts in his database. 750,000, 700 and something thousand people in that data. That's a whole lot of people. And yet our puny
And
little human,
95% of them love me.
well, everybody loves you if they know you. But a lot of those people, they have no clue who Brent Daly is, right? Now, you guys got to know Brent is a bit of a public figure. Um, he is a person people in his market are absolutely going to know. And when you have a little bit of public recognition, that's a hurdle. It's a hurdle because everybody feels like they know you, but you don't actually know who they are, right? So from a
Social.
build a brand marketing perspective, it's a powerful place to be. It's something you should aspire to. But most agents aren't going to get there. They'll be far better off focusing on 100 people that they would hug if they saw them at the grocery store, right? Going deep with those people. So I'm going to reel back here for a moment because we've covered past clients, most valuable, sphere of influence, second most valuable. Then we've got leads. Okay. You got your other agents, right? That's the next one. Then you got your vendors. Vendors are actually really valuable. For some people, they're more valuable than leads because you can turn your vendors into an active lead source. You refer them all the time. Why aren't they referring you? What's wrong with a little quid pro quo? Nothing. They should be, right? So vendors, other agents, and then the final category, which may or may not be important to you, is recruits, right? So some people are in an organization where there's a financial benefit for them to recruit. Um, it's funny. Earlier today, I just taught a class about recruitment. It's the process where someone decides it's time for change in their life, and then they realize you're the change that they'd like to experience, right? They've reached a point where it's time for change. Then they see you as the vehicle they'd like to change through. So recruits can be incredibly valuable, but that doesn't mean you have to recruit them to your team or your brokerage or your organization. You could just recruit them into being a friend. You could recruit them into being a referral partner, right? You could recruit them into sending people to your event that you're hosting, right? Whatever it might be. Brent Daly, I see that hand up.
One thing I Yes, sir. One of the things I find really valuable especially when you start becoming a niche. For example, we started looking at short sales. A lot of people don't feel comfortable with short sales. You could be of value to those people that don't do short sales. Say, hey, you'll get 50% of this deal, whatever your split may be. And now people going, yeah, I don't deal with short sales. You can do this, and they still make money. So that's a great way to get those agents on your side.
Yeah, there's so many ways to build relationships with other agents, but think about what you hate as an agent. Okay, I'm going to just use the word hate. Maybe that's strong. Maybe you mildly dislike, right? And yet, like, do you want to get the call? Hey, Brent, we're growing over here. We think you could be a great fit. Um, Most agents don't enjoy being recruited because it's also mercenary, right? It's, hey, I know you've been at that place for a long time, but this is better. And here's why. We've got a model that, or tech, or culture, or training. It's like always the same thing. It doesn't matter which brand, it just sounds the same to the person hearing it. So you build the relationship first. Recruitment happens through that relationship. And you know that firsthand, Brent. You've experienced that for sure. All right. All right. So, um, Shon, there's a topic I would like to bring up. Maybe you guys can chime in here. And Kyle, I see your comment there. Yeah, one size fits all model doesn't fit anybody really well. It doesn't.
No.
And we have to talk about AI, right? We have to because think of the first time you used ChatGPT. You were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Think about the most recent time you used ChatGPT. Like different experience. We've all had that experience where it was so great and now it's not. And the reason for that is something called regression to the mean. Started here because it was trained on libraries of professionally written and edited books. So yeah, it communicated at a different level in its early days than it does after talking to all of us dumbasses for all this time, right? We're feeding the model all day, every day with poorly written things, and it thinks that's how human beings communicate now. So it's reflecting that back to us, right? So all that formulaic writing you see, the not this, that, the short, choppy little sentences, couple of words, period, couple of words, period, couple of words. It's like, oh, so ridiculous. We can do better as people for people than we can have a bot do for us. So I love using technology to make our lives easier, but technology is never going to fill the gap of the authentic connection shared between people who've known each other over time, right?
Not a relationship, but
That's the whole
always
plan.
is. And it always will be, you guys. Dan,
Yep.
I love your perspective on why you believe we as real estate agents are not going to be put out on our tails like the travel agent was just over a decade ago by Travelocity and other competitors. Why do you think realtors are safe? Talk to me.
Well, first of all, I'll say it's not just me. There's massive amounts of evidence that realtors are safe. And, if you follow the money, um, you're going to get the answer right. Okay, so let's just follow the money for a moment here. Why is so much institutional capital, the smartest money on planet Earth, putting their money in the real estate business, right? Compass got funded to acquire Anywhere. Real got funded to acquire Remax, right? We're seeing all these brand moves. EXP acquired Next Home. These brand moves are happening because the smart money knows relationships are less susceptible to disruption from AI than other businesses are. So I'll tell you a business I wouldn't want to be in, translation. I have a buddy who speaks 6 languages. What a gift. And he built a wonderful career for himself as a top flight translator, but now it's an app and it's better. Like, I mean, there are jobs and trades and professions that are going to be profoundly changed. This is why I wrote my book, because now is the time. We are the only human beings who remember what life was like before AI. We are the last generation of people who will ever know what that was. And we have got to do something about it. We have got to change sales from being this manipulative thing that people look down on to being the people who actually understand other people. And who better than realtors to lead this charge as fiduciaries, right? You're already trusted in the most intimate parts of people's lives, their home, their financial history, their financial health, their dreams. There is no better profession to lead this charge than real estate. And I get so excited about it.
Well said, Dan. Now, we're going to do something a little different. Now we're going to take the next 3.5 minutes, guys, and what we're going to do is some Q&A. So whatever's on your mind, whatever agenda topic, whatever question you have, are you thinking about hiring your first assistant? If so, ask the question. Are you thinking about engaging with a buyer specialist or showing partner, and you are curious about compensation models and what's going to motivate that person to act like an owner? Ask whatever question is on your mind. Dan and I are here to support and help you every way we possibly can. Now's your chance.
Size 10, Brent. He was going to ask. I just knew. I could tell.
Honestly, what was it I was going to ask you now? I don't remember. What
You
was it?
texted me a question earlier. I can
I'm
answer
trying to remember
that.
what it was.
Yeah.
There you go. That's good.
So Brent is a team owner, and one of his agents on his team has contacts that are in her database that are really Brent's. So he wants to unsubscribe those from her database so she's not messaging those people. The messaging should come from Brent, right? So depending on the system you use, there's a choice that you need to make. But in our system, Happy Grasshopper, it's really easy. You just upload that list and you check the box that says unsubscribe the people on this upload. They'll be unsubscribed from her account and they're still subscribed in yours. So easy peasy. And if you need one-on-one help with that, for you.
Just to recap, that is once she unsubscribes, because ours is a common database, it won't tag it unsubscribe for both sides, hers and mine.
A common database.
Follow,
That's
boss.
interesting. You guys have separate accounts in Happy Grasshopper, though. So that doesn't necessarily write back up to, that's a setting. So yeah, you don't want that to write back up. You want, if they're unsubscribed in Follow Boss, they stay unsubscribed. But if they unsubscribe in Happy Grasshopper, you don't want that to go back up to Follow Boss.
Correct. So we might have to have a one-on-one on that, just because it's a little tricky, and I don't want to mess anything up.
It's easy.
But while we're asking that, okay, it's to unsubscribe somebody. How does that work in Happy Grasshopper?
You just pull up their contact record and there's a box and it'll be checked if it's unsubscribed. You just uncheck it and they're subscribed. So that's right in the contact record. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. And my last question is why is Shon so extremely handsome and I'm not? If you could answer that for me, I would appreciate it.
Funny, Brent. You're quickly becoming my favorite person, Brent. Thank you, bro. Well, you guys are amazing. Thank you all for being here. Gang, we're going to do this every single week. We're changing up the format a little bit. We're going to make it more conversational. We just want to find out what's going on in your world and how can we add a perspective that's going to help you make that next dollar, that next sale. All right, guys, keep showing up week after week. Of course, we're going to send the invites. Dan, anything you want to add?
Be well, everybody. I'll see you back here next week.
Yeah, by the way, if you want to see what we're up to, I just posted to the chat, installbuilt.com. If you want your database cleaned, scrubbed, organized, and communicated with appropriately, check out installbuilt.com. First session's always free, guys. See you soon.
See you guys.